On behalf of United States Agricultural Department, USDA, and the U.S.-India Importers Council, USIIC, this is Nallore Srinivasan, President of USIIC Western Region, India, warmly welcoming you all. The pouring rains today in Mumbai is a welcome sign, I believe, for our webinar on the agribusiness census documents, the agri-crops. Today, we are honored by the august presence of Mr. David J. Ranz, the Honorable Consul General of the U.S. Consulate, Mumbai. A warm welcome to you, sir. Today's webinar on opportunities for enhancing U.S. agricultural exports to India is organized by USIIC under the aegis of USDA and sponsored by Commercial Lynks Incorporated from Virginia. USIIC plays a critical role in promoting economic and commercial growth between the USA and India, with a key focus on helping Indian importers source from the USA and the USA exporters to India. As two of the world's largest democracies, USA and India enjoy a long-abiding relationship. Undoubtedly, the US is the world's most powerful country. It is the world's largest economy at USD 19 trillion GDP. The US is an economic, military, and technological superpower. The huge expatriate Indian population living in the US brings tremendous brain power. India is an emerging economy with a population of over 1.35 billion and a ravenous appetite for consumption of a wide variety of goods and services. The expanding Indian middle class is a major market for semi-luxury and luxury products. USIIC has been specifically established to promote export of US origin goods and services to India. Available data suggests the US faces a trade deficit of about USD 20 billion with India. In other words, the US buys from India more than it is able to sell to India. We at USIIC believe agribusiness can contribute to narrowing of the trade deficit. The US is in a position to offer to India a number of agricultural goods that India actually needs. In this webinar, we are attempting to examine the possibility of India buying not only large quantities of agri-goods from the US in order to meet domestic needs, but also to examine if there are newer opportunities. We have an elite panel of experts who will share with us their perspective. It is now my proud privilege to introduce the Honorable Consul General, Mr. David J. Ranz. Mr. David J. Ranz, a native of New York and a career diplomat since 1992. Mr. Ranz is the Consul General of the United States of America in Mumbai. A member of the Senior Foreign Service, Mr. Ranz previously served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South Asia, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Maldives in the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, and as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Pakistan. Prior to that, Mr. Ranz was the Director of the Office of Pakistan Affairs. Mr. Ranz's previous assignments include Charge d'Affaires AIA, Acting Deputy Chief of Mission and Counselor for Political Affairs at the US Embassy in Cairo, Egypt, and Spokesman and Counselor for Public Affairs at the US Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. Mr. Ranz has also served in Rabat, Morocco, Jerusalem, and Karachi, Pakistan. Mr. Ranz was the 2004 recipient of the U.S. Department of State's Herbert Salzman Award for International Economic Performance and 2013 runner-up for the James Clement Dunn Award for Excellence. Mr. Ranz has also received 6 State Department Superior Honor Awards and a U.S. Department of the Army Commander's Award for Public Service from General Retired David Petraeus. Mr. Ranz graduated summa cum laude from Yale University in 1991 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and received a Master in Public Policy degree from Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs at Princeton University in 2005. Mr. Ranz is married to Tally Lane, a Foreign Service Officer with the U.S. Agency for International Development, and has 2 children. He speaks Arabic, French, and Hebrew. Now, I request Mr. David J. Ranz, the Honorable Consul General of the U.S. Consulate, Mumbai, to inaugurate and deliver the keynote address. Over to Mr. David J. Ranz.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, and good evening to everybody. It really is a pleasure and an honor to kick off this important dialogue about the bilateral cooperation between our 2 great nations in the agricultural sector. I want to start by thanking the U.S.-India Import Council for making this event possible, and in particular, Mr. Nallore Srinivasan, the chapter president. USIIC is a valued partner of the U.S. mission here in India, and we are grateful for your ongoing support. President Trump reinforced the importance and value of the greater US-India cooperation during his visit earlier this year, and we could not be more excited by the positive momentum that continues to characterize our relationship. In this respect, the timing of this conference is ideal, as US agriculture has a vital role to play in our mutual economic growth and development. Over the past 5 years, US agricultural exports to India have nearly doubled, reaching $2.2 billion in 2019. This significant growth in our trade relationship is due to partnerships between US exporters and importers in India. The demand for what these partnerships can offer is promising, and from what we can tell, won't be slowing down anytime soon. India's relatively young, well-educated population has created a market in search of a greater variety of foods, including more imported products. This newfound opportunity inspired our #TasteOfAmerica campaign, a series of events designed to promote US agricultural exports. This innovative initiative has helped us raise awareness of quality, healthful US products available in the Indian market, such as tree nuts, fresh fruit, poultry, distilled spirit, wines, baking ingredients, and packaged food products, in a manner that is creative, appealing, and relevant to our audience's changing palate. In addition to benefiting Indian shoppers, the surge of US agricultural exports to India is good for Indian processors and manufacturers as well. By increasing the import of American agricultural goods, Indian-based food and agricultural companies gain access to international supply chains, making their products more competitive on the global market. India's voice in global supply chains will be critical over the next 20 to 25 years, as the world's population increases by 2 billion people. No country can ever completely depend on its own agricultural economy to satisfy the need and the demand of its consumers. As two of the world's agricultural powerhouses, it is vital that the United States and India build our partnership to ensure that both our peoples, as well as those of other nations, have unfettered access to a safe, affordable, and quality food supply. The Indian government has recognized the need for greater cooperation in the agricultural sector and has taken action. Earlier this year, the government introduced major agricultural reforms that we believe will help farmers secure better prices, encourage greater private sector participation, and improve production and marketing infrastructure. We welcome these long-awaited reforms and believe they have the potential to transform the agricultural sector for the better. However, there is clearly room for growth. Over the past several years, the combined imports and exports of agricultural products between the US and India have remained fairly consistent at $6 to $7 billion. By comparison, bilateral trade between the US and China in agricultural and related products has averaged over $30 billion. There are a number of constraints that limit both US-India agricultural trade and the growth of the Indian agricultural sector. In order for the US and India to reach our full potential as partners in trade, these constraints need to be addressed. For starters, there is a persistent public perception that trade, especially imports, will harm India's domestic economy and hurt Indian farmers. On the contrary, there is abundant evidence gathered from across the globe that restricting imports and implementing price-distorting policies is what hurts farmers. As we have seen in countries worldwide, more open economies grow more quickly and are better able to integrate into global supply chains. Rather than restricting trade, we need to make the US and India agricultural trade relationship more robust. This will help farmers, businesses, consumers, and manufacturers benefit from trade. Another constraint is the resistance in India to incorporating new technologies and production methods, in particular, agricultural biotechnology. For example, the government of India has not approved the commercial use of new seeds developed using the most advanced biotechnology since 2008. This is severely limiting the ability of farmers to increase production and secure higher profits. More and more, farmers throughout India are raising their voices and demanding access to new and innovative technologies that will help them flourish. India's opposition to biotechnology is also affecting the flow of trade. As India continues to limit the importation of products derived from biotech crops, consumers and processors are constrained in their access to a wider variety of quality and inexpensive agricultural and food products from around the globe. India would clearly benefit from adopting and recognizing these critical tools and evaluating imports based on a science and rules-based trade system. Despite these challenges, it is clear that there is positive momentum developing that will create new and significant opportunities for American and Indian companies and traders alike. Together, I believe firmly we can realize our shared goal of a vibrant, competitive, and globally integrated Indian agricultural sector that meets consumer demand both at home and abroad and enables India's farmers to prosper. The United States is committed to its partnership with India, and I look forward to working with everyone who shares that optimism through our Foreign Agricultural Service offices, our Taste of American campaign, and our market promotion initiatives. Thank you once again for your collaboration on this endeavor. I look forward to hearing what you have to say on this important issue and welcome this opportunity to share this webinar with such a distinguished panel of guests. Thank you.
It was truly a stimulating and enlightening keynote address by the CG, Mr. David J. Ranz. Thank you, sir, for your deep insight and motivational thoughts. It will go a long way in promoting the US-India agribusiness. Now I call upon Dr. Rangaraj, our founder, chairman, and director of Edifice, to conduct further session. Over to Dr. Rangaraj.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. We have today with us a galaxy of speakers comprising of a very good balance of senior government officials from the embassy, people from the private sector, and analysts representing the fourth estate, namely Chandrashekhar is there with us. Mark Rosmann is going to do the kickoff. He's the agricultural attaché with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Foreign Agricultural Service in the U.S. Embassy, New Delhi. He has many years of experience having worked in Latin America and Africa, and he has worked on a range of trade policy issues and responsibilities in the Foreign Agricultural Service, especially in the plant division. He was with State Department as the Franklin Fellow in the Office of Global Food Security. As a Peace Corps volunteer, he served in the Honduras. He developed interest in agriculture while working at a very early age in his parents' organic grain and livestock farm in Iowa. Immediately after this, I'm going to introduce Lazaro Sandoval, and both of them will start interacting. Lazaro Sandoval is a senior agricultural attaché at the U.S. Consulate General in Mumbai. Earlier, Mr. Sandoval served as the agricultural attaché in the U.S. Embassy in Buenos Aires for almost 4 years. He's a product of the California State University, Fresno. Mr. Sandoval has a MS degree in International Commerce and Policy from the George Mason University in Virginia. He has worked in a variety of programs in his career. Sandoval started with the Office of Global Analysis as an economist, where he analyzed global livestock and poultry markets. He has a rich experience in handling WTO matters in cooperation with the U.S. Trade Representative. Now I'm going to request Mark to do the opening, and Lazaro will continue with that, and then I'll go to the rest of the other illustrious speakers. Over to you, Mark.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Raj, for the very kind introduction for us. As the doctor said, my name is Mark Rosmann. I'm with our Foreign Agricultural Office of Agricultural Affairs in New Delhi, and here along with Lazaro Sandoval. We are very excited to be here today to talk a little bit about food and agricultural trade and some of the perspectives that we see here in India. So I will go ahead and get started by sharing my screen. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay. All right. So again, going to give a short briefing on the food and agricultural trade aspect. Talk a little bit about the trade overview, our market challenges, some of the opportunities that we see that Lazaro will provide some comments on, and additional resources and reporting as well. So a little bit about the trade overview that we cover here in the USDA. As David had mentioned, we have a robust agricultural trade from the United States to India. And if you look at the last 8 years or so, we've remained pretty consistent in agricultural trade, particularly in the intermediate and consumer-oriented products. Now, when I say intermediate, those are typically products that are processed to a certain degree, like dried distillers grains with solubles, other processed food products to that end as well. Bulk products typically don't have that level of growth, but have remained fairly consistent, at least in the last 3 years. And on the blue section on ag-related products, certainly we expect to see some growth in that, which I'll get into in a little bit. That's typically products derived from agriculture, such as ethanol, denatured and non-denatured ethyl alcohol. So U.S. exports to India, yes, that's one of the things that was previously mentioned. We do have, the United States does have a $3.1 billion agricultural trade deficit with India. And typically what we have in our 2.2 billion portfolio is tree nuts, certainly almonds, pistachios, walnuts are part of that mix. Ethanol, ethanol for medical, which we have seen consistent growth in that particular field, even during the COVID-19 crisis, with the rise and increase of use of hand sanitizers, for instance, and other related products in the medical field. Cottons and soybeans followed by fresh fruit. Conversely, Indian exports to the United States are primarily in seafood. 46% of the portfolio of Indian exports to the United States are in shrimp related products, followed by vegetable extracts, rice, soybean meal, and a list of other commodities as well. This is just a screen here that shows the various Indian ports for U.S. agricultural exports. The vast majority of the exports are coming into the three ports in Kandla, Mundra, and then 44% in Mumbai. Whereas on the eastern side, it gets much less. Part of that is based on the geography and the shipping routes, especially as tree nuts and cotton, ethanol are going primarily through the Mumbai, Mundra, Kandla ports. I mentioned a little bit about the top exports to India. If we break it down a little bit, you can kind of see how we've seen significant change from 2019 to 2020. And a lot of that certainly has to do with the COVID-19 crisis that we're currently in. The data is from January into July, and when we were looking at the numbers, to the most recent trade numbers, the January to June comparison, it was previously at minus 26% in terms of the reduction in trade. And as you can see, at least from January to July, that has increased to 29%. And we've seen some increases in some areas. Certainly ethanol, as I mentioned, has taken a large increase and remains to be a significant commodity as a biofuel for India's growing ethanol sector as part of its ethanol blending program, which for the United States, I should note that we're primarily exporting medical grade ethanol for non-ethanol use. But other commodities have taken a hit, such as cotton and some other products, which I'll get into here on our next slide, where cotton and fresh fruit, forested products, pulses, all have taken a significant hit in the last year compared to 2019, whereas some commodities, non-beverage ethanol alcohol, soybeans, and other consumer-oriented products have increased. So there's been some definitely a vast reduction, but at the same time, there has been some significant increase in some of the sectors. So going forward for imports for 2021, some of the best product prospects do remain some of the products that have remained strong in country, such as tree nuts, dried fruits, almonds and pistachios, sugar, processed products in the retail sector, fresh fruit also as well. With the COVID-19 crisis, certainly we've seen importers focusing less on trying new products. Some of that's been as a result of not being able to get more exposure to new products to try. They're instead trying and sticking with products that have done well in country. So these particular commodities that I mentioned, including apples, fruit juices, beverages, condiments, sauces, these have great sales potential. They have been existing in the marketplace, and I think going forward is something that we'll be wanting to keep an eye on. And then going forward, we mentioned that tier 1, 2, 3, and cities also are going to be those cities with the greatest market potential. Certainly New Delhi, Mumbai, followed by Bangalore, Chennai, and Kolkata. All are ranked very high, certainly in terms of greatest market potential and the target segments to look at. And this is just a slide here that's showing a little bit of the cities, some of the regions that are mentioned as the tier 1, 2, and 3 cities that are worth looking at. So some of the market challenges, and these are items that are ongoing for the United States. Many imported products face high tariffs. It's certainly for the United States, but it's not just the U.S. Other countries certainly face this as well. Sourcing of local products can be a challenge. For U.S. exporters, Indian food companies are producing Western-style food products at competitive prices, and while that's great to see, it's something that could present a challenge for U.S. exporters in this particular segment as the demand grows. Infrastructure and logistical supply chain challenges. As the Consul General mentioned, the United States is very pleased for the market reforms that were passed yesterday and on Monday. And we think that there's certainly opportunities for reforming some of the market restrictions, certain agricultural domestic trade barriers, and improve investments in infrastructure and the supply chain. So we hope that that's something that could go along with to address some of these challenges, because all eyes are on India. I mean, certainly these agricultural farm bills are world news, but at the same time, stiff competition does exist from various markets, including neighbors such as China, Bangladesh, Vietnam. Preferential trade agreements also with competing countries, certainly as the world is moving towards bilateral trade agreements that could impact the United States in terms of getting preferential market access on a variety of commodities. Certainly, there's been limited market access for a variety of product segments, including dairy, seafood, pet food, and other products as well. That is something that the United States continues to work on to gain market access where we can. And then finally, high food tariffs, often up to 40%. That's something that has always remained a challenge for the United States, and trying to get market access on certain products, including alcohol, for instance, and distilled spirits products that remain a challenge for increasing market access. So while there's a lot of challenges, certainly there's a lot of growth and opportunities. And while there are many challenges, while it can be difficult, the United States still has 1.8 billion in agricultural exports in 2019. And while that might take a drop in 2020, it's still among one of the top agricultural export markets for the United States. And with the rising population, with the increasing consumer middle class, a young generation that is interested in Western products, we see vast opportunities. So I'm going to stop right there, and I will pass it on to Lazaro Sandoval on the next segment. So thank you very much.
Can all of you hear me? Yes, great. Once again, thank you, Dr. Raghavan, for your introduction. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mark, for the great introduction that you provided on the USDA perspective on the Indian market for U.S. Agricultural exports here in India. During this part of the presentation, I'm going to go into some of the particular market opportunities that we at USDA are seeing for U.S. products here in India. And the thing I want to start saying is we as USDA have an office in India. We have one in Mumbai that's run by me, and then we have another office in New Delhi where Mark is located. And we're here at the service of all of you who are participating in this call today, whether you're an importer, a retailer, a distributor, any type of, if you're involved in any way in the business of food or agriculture here in India. We're here at your service to try to connect you with the suppliers of U.S. agricultural goods in the United States. And so I want to first mention that by saying that, as you will see in the course of this presentation, you'll see a lot of the initiatives that we're working on. All of you can easily be partners in those initiatives in terms of trying to generate greater demand for U.S. products here in India. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to mention is, in addition to the USDA, there's also a strong presence from U.S. industry. For example, California, the American Pistachios has an office here in India. So does Washington Apples. You will actually hear from Sumit Saran, who's a representative for Washington Apples and U.S.A. Pears and some of these other groups. U.S.A. Pears, as you see here, U.S.A. Pears is working with local Indian celebrities to promote their products. We also have U.S. Cranberries, California Walnuts, the Southern United States Trade Association as well. All these groups are working actively. They have local representation here, and they're busy trying to find new and creative ways to promote U.S. products. And so if you're an importer or a retailer and you want to bring in U.S.
We got some.
My apologies. My apologies. Can you still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. My apologies. So we have all these individuals here that are here to assist all of you. So let me just provide a very quick overview of how we see the Indian market for agricultural products. Many people don't know this, but India has a $500 billion food retail market. This is the value, the annual value of the sector. Also a $400 billion food processing sector, as Mark mentioned. A lot of food processors, it's a massive processing sector that produces Indian and Western style food products that are very competitive, and India has become a major regional supplier of processed food products. Not only that, but India as a whole imports about $25 billion worth of consumer-oriented and agricultural-related goods every year. As mentioned before, it has the youngest population in the world. It has an expanding middle class, along with rising disposable incomes. And not only that, but consumers are willing to also try new products and cuisines. India has a very globally conscious population that's open to new things. So one of the first sectors that I want to talk about is the modern retail sector. All of us know, and I do this myself, still for the majority of Indians, we buy most of our groceries through local kirana stores. However, all of us over the past decade and a half now have seen the massive expansion of modern organized retail outlets. In 2005, you only had about 200 around the country. In 2020, where we estimate about over 8,000. And I would say that will easily double. And the thing to keep in mind is all these stores will need new products to fill up those shelves. And this This is a wonderful opportunity for imported products, as these stores will focus more on providing foods that are healthy, that are easy, that are inexpensive to a growing population that's looking for greater ease when they go to the supermarket. We're starting to see a lot, as all of us are seeing a massive growth in hypermarkets, especially in first and second tier cities. In addition to retail stores, within retail stores, we're seeing the emergence of gourmet stores or private labels, where grocery outlets are trying to promote a premium line of products that they are developing. And at the same time, we're also seeing simultaneous growth in e-retail and mobile commerce. Last year, for example, and the sales of e-groceries, that is, the sales of groceries online in India were about $1 billion. But due to COVID-19, that's actually going to increase about $3 billion based on initial estimates. That's an amazing increase. I don't think, even if things get normal next, we all hope, we still think there's a large number of consumers that have gotten used to the idea of purchasing their groceries online. And so again, this provides major opportunities for food distributors that are hoping to supply local retailers with imported products that offer a new variety of tastes to local consumers. In addition to that, we're also seeing a lot of demand from the hotel and restaurant sector. Obviously, this year, the sector is quite impacted by COVID-19, but we do expect that the sector will recover by December, hopefully, and we're already seeing its recovery in certain cities around the country. This sector also provides certain unique incentives or benefits. For example, hotels, specifically 3- and 5-star hotels, can import duty-free. They get a special quota that allows them to import alcoholic beverages, other special food items within their businesses. So this is a wonderful opportunity for other importers that are looking to disperse some of their products to the hotel and restaurant sector. Not only that, but the hotel and restaurant sector is also the one that drives a lot of the new food habit trends that we then see replicated in the food processing sector or in the retail sector as well. So speaking of food processing, a lot of, as we have seen in the past decade, India's food processing sector is growing tremendously. It's a major supplier for the region. And not only that, but the government's doing what it can to also support this sector as well, which we welcome. I wanted to quickly share a quick anecdote about how beneficial U.S. imports are to the sector by highlighting my recent visit, well, not too recent, but a visit I had to the Gulf Food Expo earlier this year. Many of you on this call perhaps attend this show. It's one of the world's largest food expos in Dubai, UAE. India very proudly has one of the largest pavilions at this stand. As I visited their pavilion, it was quite interesting to see that over half of the companies that were exhibiting had U.S. products or had U.S. ingredients in their products. You saw, for example, flavored popcorn companies that were using popcorn from the United States. You had masala flavored almonds, and those were California almonds. So for me, it's really wonderful to see these entrepreneurs that were promoting their products and Indian flavors around the world while using U.S. ingredients. So again, this shows how what a positive contribution U.S. imports can be to food processors and exporters in India. One of the areas we are seeing the most growth in terms of food imports is value-added or processed food products. These products are the ones that more Indian consumers are looking for. A lot of them have very healthy aspects. They're easy to use, especially for more active consumers. And the opportunities there are that, of course, there's growing demand for value-added and convenient and healthy products. U.S. products are also held in high regard by retailers, by restaurants, by food processors. And there's untapped growth in the organized food retail sector. As I mentioned, I think easily the number of grocery stores and modern grocery stores in India is going to double in the next 5 years. If that's the case, they're going to need more products on the shelves, and it's the businesses that are participating in this call that are going to apply to that. There are challenges, other competition, whether it's from suppliers from Europe, from the Middle East, from Asia, and there's also a domestic processing sector that also is producing a lot of products as well. And in addition to that, there sometimes is a lack of awareness of the full range and value of U.S. products, which sometimes makes product introduction a little bit difficult, but that's why we're here. This just gives you a quick idea of the processed food imports over the past couple of years, and they remain fairly consistent. COVID-19 has also been quite significant in how it's shifted consumer habits and preferences. So for example, consumers are now taking out when it comes to their food. More consumers are at home. There's a lot of pent-up demand, and that pent-up demand is leading to greater experimentation of products. And they're selecting new premium imports that are out there. Consumers are also trying to recreate the out-of-home experience because going out for them is less important. And this is leading to a real redefinition of social norms. So it's another opportunity for importers to present their products to the Indian consumer through e-retail or traditional retail outlets. Not only that, but they're trading up because they're not going out as much. They have more disposable income for premium products. And this, again, presents a wonderful opportunity for premium imported products. So as I mentioned before, we here at U.S.A. India, and through the help from our consulates and embassy, we're working actively to promote U.S. products. And the initiative that we introduced this last year in order to do so was through our Taste of America initiative. So this is our Taste of America campaign. Please follow us on Instagram. We're essentially using this campaign as an umbrella campaign or logo or banner to help Indians quickly associate with U.S. products through this Taste of America, through this hashtag Taste of America logo or banner. So as you can see here, just to give you an idea of what we've been actively doing to promote interest and demand for U.S. products, we've done supermarket promotions. We've done with in 3 major cities. As you can see here from the photo, Consul General Ranz participated in one of these fabulous events. We've also done events to promote alcoholic beverages. We did a United Wines of America campaign with leading hotels and restaurants in the Mumbai area last year. We also participated in major food shows in India and in the region. As you can see here, we participated in the Ahar Food Show in Delhi and also in the Gulf Food Show in Dubai. We actually took a delegation of 10 Indian buyers with us to Dubai, where they were able to then meet with U.S. suppliers during that show. Some of the more recent events that we've done, we worked with celebrity chefs and influencers and bloggers who are highlighting U.S. products in more virtual ways. For example, Agribusiness of the Academy here in Mumbai. She introduced consumers to how to use ingredients in native baking recipes. Also, one of those whiskey virtual masterclass, because our philosophy is, even though we all might be stuck at home, that is no reason why we can't enjoy great American products and beverages. And we organize an American virtual masterclass and send samples to select buyers, influencers, etc., so that they can try American whiskey during a guided tasting on Zoom. Which is a fabulous event. Also, as you see here, we're quite active on Instagram. Please follow us again. And we use these social platforms to promote US products, recipes, product nutritional facts, and other relevant information to allow the consumer to connect to these foods and to go apart them the easiest as possible. Twitter page that we use to also promote products, as you can hear, promoting the arrival of fresh cherries, as some of them are being held by some of the
Sorry, 1 second, as Lazaro tries to get bandwidth back.
Sorry. Just to give you guys a quick overview of some things we have going on. We have a Taste of America cocktail virtual masterclass with the Happy High Academy coming up soon. We just finalized an agreement with celebrity chef Chandrashekhar, who's going to use U.S. ingredients in traditional Indian recipes to show that Indian ingredients work perfectly with Indian tastes, flavors, and culture. We're also hoping to do a promotional campaign with e-retail platforms, such as Amazon, Big Basket. We're still finalizing this, but this is something that we're working on. And eventually we're hoping to do a food blogger seminar that will go into some of the major trends in the food sector that bloggers, influencers are tracking as a way to, again, generate greater hype and interest for U.S. products. This presentation too, and we'll forward this to all of you, are a number of the different reports that we work on that provide on the market in India, everything from the opportunities to the regulatory requirements, import protocols, etc. So if any of you are interested in navigating this market and in bringing in U.S. products, you need an idea of how the rules and regulations work, we already have reports ready for your review. So with that, here's the contact info for offices. I thank you so much again to the U.S. India Importers Council for this wonderful opportunity, and I wish all of you the best of luck, and we're at your service for anything you may need. Thank you.
Dr. Rangaraj, you have to unmute and then continue the session. Dr. Rangaraj, you have to unmute and continue the session.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. Now, that was a very good presentation by Lazaro on the retail sales. He gave us a total picture of shape of things to come and the trends also in the market. May I now request Mr. Chandrashekhar. Chandrashekhar is a very well-known figure in the global agribusiness and commodities markets. He's senior editor, economist, and policy commentator. He was with the well-known Hindu business line for several years. His focus areas are nutrition security, role of technology in agriculture, trade and investment opportunities, global commodity markets. These are his areas of specialization. Mr. Chandrashekhar is also on the advisory board of Securities and Exchange Board of India, where he looks after the commodity derivatives market operation. He is also on the UN panel of International Trade Center, Geneva. Mr. Chandrashekhar is a valuable resource for the FAS and USDA in India. Immediately after Chandrashekhar, may I request Mr. J. Gnanasekaran. Gnanasekaran is a private sector entrepreneur. He is the owner and president of Commercial Lynks Incorporated, CLI for short, from Alexandria, Virginia. His company was founded by him in 1999. CLI is an export house handling a range of agricultural commodities, and it has customers in different parts of the world. CLI works closely with farmers, elevators, and producers to create a sustained market for US agricultural products. CLI also has a branch in Montana so as to develop close relationship with farmers and traders. It is planning to set up its own processing plant in Montana. CLI handles procurement of agricultural commodities including lentils, whole dry peas, split peas, grain, dry edible beans, milled rice, and soybean oil. CLI works very closely with USDA and has contributed to global innovation in agriculture. I'm very happy to inform you, ladies and gentlemen, that it has received several commendations from USDA, including the prestigious National Achievement Certificate and the President's E Award. With this, over to Mr. Chandrashekhar.
Thank you, Rangaraj, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, good morning to all our participants in different geographies. Let me start by complimenting USIIC for organizing this event. I have very consciously titled this as Thinking Out of the Box, because we need to think out of the box. And I want to share some of my thoughts with you. After all of us know, and I'm sure speakers earlier mentioned about the $20 billion trade deficit that the US faces with India, which is India enjoys a $20 billion trade surplus. And of this $20 billion trade deficit that the US faces, agribusiness or agriculture commodities contribute to about $3 billion. There has been a most unfortunate standoff between the two countries. In the last 1 year, US imposed tariffs in 2018, and of course, India had to place retaliatory tariffs in 2019. This has continued. The sooner we sort this out, the better for the countries because it's damaging. It's damaging for both the countries to have this kind of. And I would be delighted if this is sorted out soon. Again, major exports from the U.S. will include, of course, cotton, tree nuts, fresh fruits, pulses, chocolate, snack food, etc. It was mentioned, and I'm sure my friend Jay from Montana now, otherwise to India, the U.S. let me mention is currently losing out on lentil import that is allowed in India at lower import duty because the U.S. faces higher tariffs in India. India recently opened up lentil imports. In the last 6 months or so, we've imported 500,000 tons, 500,000 tons, which is worth $300 million. And this is a market which the U.S. Should be capturing a substantial amount of this lentil import, but it is not happening because the U.S. origin lentils face higher 20 percentage points higher import tax in India. The tragedy, in fact, I would think, is that in spite of this, U.S. origin lentils are coming to India, but not directly from the U.S., but via Canada. Therefore, the U.S. and U.S. farmers are actually losing out on the opportunity to export a lot of lentil to India. Again, thinking out of the box, I want to present to this audience, I want to present to all the officials present here two big ticket ideas. And the two big ticket ideas, one is soybean and the second is DDG, dyed distillers grains, which obviously is poultry feed. The usual objection that I've heard, and I've been with this sector, I've been tracking this sector for very long years, probably 25, 30, 35 years. And I've also been a resource person for the FAS, USDA in Delhi, and almost all of them know me very well. The usual objection that everybody points out is that US origin crops, whether it is corn or soybean, is genetically modified, and that India does not permit genetically modified crops. Yes, there are restrictions in India permitting genetically modified crops, but my sense, my strong belief, and I've written and commented about this on a number of occasions in recent years, that these objections can be addressed. It is important to convince the Indian policymakers about the mutual and multiple benefits that India's import of both soybean and DDG will result for the domestic market. I'll tell you how. I'll take cotton as an example. Cotton is the only crop in India which is genetically modified, allowed for cultivation, commercialized as far back as 2003. 90% of India's cotton production is GM, which is BT cotton primarily. We are the world's second largest producers of cotton. About 36 million bales of cotton we produce every year. We crush approximately 10 million tons of GM cotton seed and produce about 1 million tons of cottonseed oil. We consume all the oil. All that meal goes as animal feed. And this has happened it's been happening over the last decade and a half, and there are no adverse reports. And therefore, why is soybean any different? Soybean is not different at all. A soybean contains 80% oil and about 80% meal. And India faces shortage of vegetable oils and also a certain tightness in protein meal. We import, in India, we import about 14 million tons of vegetable oils, various vegetable oils every year. And it costs my exchequer $11 billion, which is big money really for India. And of this 14 million tons of vegetable oil, 9 million tons palm oil and 3 million tons soybean oil, then about another 2 million tons of sunflower oil, etc., etc. So my strong belief is soybean, not the oil, but soybean can certainly partially replace vegetable oil imports into India, which means soybean is material. India should be importing raw material, processing in the domestically, and to get the benefit of value palm oil, we should actually be importing raw material, which will allow India to capture the value addition benefits. For what are the multiple benefits that the soybean import into India will allow India to enjoy? One is we have huge idle processing capacity, huge solvent extraction capacity for crushing oil seeds. That about 50–60% is the idle capacity in this country. All that can get utilized. Utilization of idle capacity or free capacity will generate in the process more jobs and incomes. And India desperately needs today more jobs and incomes, particularly in rural areas. Import of raw materials. Soybean will obviously augment soy oil availability within the country. There is a shortage of soy oil we are importing, and therefore import of bean will augment oil availability, and it will also augment meal availability. In this, import of soybean and crushing, producing oil on the one hand and meal on the other hand is going to benefit all the value chain participants. I think this is an extremely important message that all of us must take to the government of India. Now, I'm proposing a 10 million ton import of soybean into India, which will give to India about 1.8 million tons of soybean oil and about 8 million tons of soybean meal. And this oil and meal can both be consumed in India because, as I said, we are short of vegetable oils. And meal, if there is a surplus in meal, can obviously be exported. Even otherwise, India exports about 2 or 3 million tons of soy meal. And any meal out of the imported soybean, if it's found surplus, can be exported to neighboring countries. Therefore, more important than any of this, and I'm coming from a very, what should I say, selfish motive as far as India is concerned, that soybean is such a wonderful protein-rich crop. It will help India fight protein deficiency. We have pervasive undernutrition, pervasive malnutrition, protein deficiency across India. And import of soybean will obviously not only have economic benefit, but consumption of protein-rich meal will also advance nutrition security for this country, both for human beings and for animals as feed. But I'm looking at a 10 million ton soybean import for India is not a big deal really. That will mean a value of $5 billion. In one stroke, it can wipe out your agriculture commodity deficit of $3 billion that we are currently facing. My own sense is that we have potential in India to import about 50 million tons of soybean over the next 5 to 8 years. And the US must also realize that it is over-dependent on China for its very large 60, 70, or 80 million tons of soybean export to China. What if the trade war escalates and China stops to buy soybean? And therefore, I think it is in the US's interest to start cultivating a big market like India. It may not happen immediately, but I think some efforts will have to be made. We need to start making efforts to enter India and sell this idea that import of soybean is in India's interest. And that will also de-risk to some extent the US's dependence on China for export of soybean. Therefore, what is important, I believe, and has worked with the years in Delhi for very long years. I'm a resource for you all. Keep consulting me that the USDA needs to engage with credible, independent voices in India. And this credible, independent voices in India with reasonably good contacts within the policy making circles should be able to work with policymakers and convince them about the multiple benefits that that soybean import into India will result for India. I think it's extremely important. It may appear to be a daunting challenge at this point of time, but I'm absolutely convinced not much effort has really gone into breaking the policy impasse in India. Pardon me saying this, I'm very blunt. Not much effort has gone in to breaking the policy impasse in India over the last 7 or 8 years that I'm aware. But it is a time, with India. Yes, there will be policy hurdles, there will be bureaucratic objections, GM, non-GM, etc. My strong belief is if there is engagement of the United States, highest level in the United States with the highest level in India, all the bureaucratic and policy hurdles can be overcome. And I'm sure all of us understand what I mean by engagement at the highest level. I'm sure it is going to work. There is no doubt. I was actually hoping when President Trump visited India in February, this could become one of the subjects for discussion, but unfortunately that did not happen. If this policy prescription is accepted, my sense is that it will certainly reduce the trade deficit of 20 billion substantially. It will certainly create a surplus in terms of agribusiness trade. It's going to be a win-win solution for both countries because we need oil, we need meal in this country. We need to fight our protein deficiency. For I would think like the US is struck a deal with China, a very specific deal for supply of soybean. It is possible for the US to strike a deal with India for very specific supply of soybean every year, maybe starting with even 5 million, 10 million, whatever, and then over the next few years it can be substantially ramped up. It is actually for the US administration to seize the initiative. I'm always enamored of the fantastic American credo. The impossible we do immediately. The miraculous takes a little time. And what I'm proposing is not even impossible. What I'm proposing is actually actually possible. I just want to leave with one thought. I'm happy. I'm happy someone referred to agriculture, biotechnology, that Indian policy does not permit more commercialization of more crops. In fact, I have written any number of commentaries, and I'm actually now writing a policy paper for the government of India on the oil seeds and oils policy. I'm writing a paper. I've been pushing for infusion not only of agriculture biotechnology, but also multiple technologies in Indian agriculture. We need to invest in Indian agriculture with multiple technologies, not only biotech, but information technology, satellite technology, nuclear agriculture technology, drones, nanotechnology. I think there are any number of technologies that the Indian agriculture is actually is waiting to absorb. But the policymakers, I'm sure, are also alive to this situation, and I'm sure it's a matter of time before there'll be a big technological infusion in Indian agriculture, which will obviously transform Indian agriculture and take it to a much higher level. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Good luck and God bless you all. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Good. Nallore, can I request Jay to go ahead?
Please do that.
Jay, would you like to go ahead with your presentation?
Yes. Good morning. Good evening. This is Jay from Commercial Lynks, Alexandria, Virginia. We are an exporter of different types of commodities from the US to all parts of the world. Especially India. We've been dealing with India for quite some time. And I'm going to share some data today with you. I'm sure my previous presenter has shared a lot of data. I will also join in sharing some of the data here. So, Okay, so mainly we are an exporter of U.S. commodities from U.S. to all parts of the world. We are a small business located in Alexandria. Mainly, our main office is in Alexandria, and we purchase our commodities throughout the world, but mainly from Montana. So I'm going to talk to you about some lentils, peas, pulses, exports of pulses into India. I'm also going to touch on some historical data, what are the other commodities that have been exported. I'm going to talk about GSM 102 program, which is a program that is established by USDA to enhance credit for the importers. And then I'm going to talk about some data on pulses and the superfoods. So mainly, US has been exporting tree nuts, cotton, fresh fruits, dairy products, and prepared food for several years. So these are the numbers on the numbers. And historically, the exports have been increasing from 1990 to 2019. After COVID, we have seen some changes, but historically, the exports have been growing. We also see, so what is USDA's credit guarantee program? So an importer is able to get credit for US approved agriculture commodities. So USDA guarantees the transaction, and the exporter pays a fee, and the importer with the guarantee can go to their banks and get LCs so that the exporter can use the LCs to export commodities, and there's a very minimum risk for the exporter. These are the advantages of having this program. So the exporter does not have to bear the risk. The USDA guarantees in case the importer defaults on payment. So this program is very popular in other parts of the world, and India is also approved, and certain banks in India is approved for this program. So if you have any questions, you can ask me later, but this is a program that I suggest for importers. So coming back to pulses, so we are an exporter of pulses. So we know we've been affected by the tariffs compared to our Canadian exporters. So primarily US exports pulses to different parts of the world, but India is a net importer of pulses. And the quality that we produce in Montana, North Dakota, and other states are more superior than any other world. So we want to emphasize the tariff is really affecting us, but there's still an opportunity for Indian importers to buy US pulses. And then my friends have shared information on pistachios, almonds, and walnuts. That's a great opportunity for Indian importers on the pulse or on the nuts. And I'm going to talk about some fruits, apples. We are also an exporter of apples into India. Red Delicious, Gale apples. They're very, very famous from Washington State. And India pretty much imports every year. And we've been part of that. And that also has got a tariff impact, but we are still seeing some fruits exported from the US. Cotton. Cotton is also a commodity that is being exported from the US. We have known some cotton exports to South India, especially Pima cotton. It's very famous in the US, it's high end. And we have seen some exports of cotton, and I see a lot of opportunities in the cotton industry. Wood. Wood is something that Virginia exports, lumber mainly, to the Indian market. We have seen the increase in that. It's also quality, price, and it's pretty much available throughout the year. So these are some of the opportunities that we have seen in the company. And lately, we have seen a veggie protein taken a next step into the food industry. especially in the US, mainly peas, lentil, beans are being used for veggie protein. And some of the meat industries are against it, but a lot of vegans are coming up in the US, and they're using veggie protein. Impossible Burgers and Beyond Burger are some of them. So we feel that pulses are going to be a big commodity in US as well as in India. India is already a veggie protein consumer. And see, these are some of the opportunities we see for the Indian importer, Indian consumer, that pulses are going to play a big role in the coming years in replacing meat. So India should be able to, the importer should be able to get some ideas on processed food, how the US has taken the trend on this. And India being a veggie consumer, this is going to be a good opportunity for the Indian importers. We see, especially the pulses grown in U.S.A. got high quality. So these are some of the things that we see. The pandemic has, of course, changed a lot of numbers, but we still see after the U.S. elections, there might be different tariff laws. So it's all up to, we are very optimistic with the Indian market, and we see that this is going to be a good opportunity for the next generation as far as pulses are concerned. These are my ideas, so if you have any questions, you can write to me. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jay. It was so nice of you to have covered a wide gamut of products. May I now request Mr. Srinivasan. Srinivasan is a person with very vast experience in promoting international food products. He is the director of SS Associates, which is an international food marketing consulting firm based in New Delhi. He specializes in marketing Washington apples, peas, American pistachios, and US cranberries in the expanding Indian market. Sumit has also specialized in handling kiwi fruit in the Indian market. Earlier, Sumit was heading the International Foods Division at Future Group, which is one of India's largest retailer. He has specialized in setting up distribution channels for imported food products. Sumit has undergone extensive training in the US in the agribusiness industry today. Thank you very much, Sunit. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Rangraj. Please bear with me. I'll just share my screen. Are you able to see the screen?
Oh, yeah.
And am I audible properly?
Sure, yeah, you're audible.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much, USIIC, for this opportunity. I was really humbled and delighted to hear the Consul General and Mark Lazaro. I think there is tremendous opportunity that beckons us. There are certain difficulties that we are all facing, but I think these are all small blips in the journey that US and India are destined to take together. So in the next 15 minutes or so, what I'll do is, in my experience, both as a marketer and promoter and consultant to US companies and US agribusinesses, but also as a retailer that handled these products, both as a buyer and as a seller, I'll just share my experience. I wanted to spend 2-3 minutes on certain mindset issues that seems to plague us, and something that I wanted to get your attention to. And then I'll leave you with way forwards what I feel for the suppliers and for the importers. About us, Dr. Rangraj has also already briefed, but we are a consulting firm and we represent these commodity boards in India. So we represent Washington Apple Commission, Pear Bureau Northwest, American Pistachio Growers, and US Cranberries. When I say we represent, it means that we don't trade. I don't buy or sell. Our role is to work with people who buy and sell to create consumer demand for these products. I mean, understanding India, Lazaro had shared some of these bits. I'll share with my experience. It's not easy to understand India because it's really a continent. And an example I like to give people is that you juxtapose India to European Union, and in a lot of sense, it's very similar. Equal number of states and languages and food variances, etc. So sometimes having an India strategy is not good enough. There is tremendous regional variances. You will not hear international companies call a European strategy. You might have a Spanish strategy very different from how Italians function. And India is very similar in that respect. What it is that it still is given all the difficulties that we are currently facing, I think on its own, it's still a strong economy that's driven by domestic consumption. And you have 250, 300 million consumers, depending on the product that you would like to market. This is our analysis that these are the number of people that can afford imported products in the market, and these are people who are unified by the power of what I call the power of aspiration. It's an aspiration for a better tomorrow, better nutrition, better health. If anything, in the post-COVID era, this aspiration has got funneled. Also, it's among the youngest population in the world, and with very small families. How it translates to imported fruits, and something that I figured out as a retailer. In the past, when you wanted to introduce a new product, you had to work through maybe 10, 15 people in a family to get a new product, a food product in. Today, between a mom and a daughter, if the two are convinced the product is on your shelf, and these are families with very high disposable incomes. Again, these are tough times, and there are some figures up and down. But I know kids out of college who are making more money than what their dads did after 30, 40 years of working. And a young population with high disposable income who's exposed to the same media that is being watched in any part of the world is leading to changes in the food habits as well. And international foods, which was a niche initially, is now becoming mainstream. I always say that India is a very old country, but a very new market. It's a market that only opened in 1999, 2000. So it's only a market 20-year-old, and we are figuring out, but the horizon seems very bright. I just wanted to give you a COVID impact slide, and it's been covered, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. In general, COVID brought in huge difficulties for the food trade, especially the import trade, because the difficulties were at all possible points, from the port to the retail. Everything was disturbed for those 2-3 months. But Indian entrepreneurship and Indian desire very quickly turned it around, and we're beginning to see growth coming very fast. This is a chart actually for today morning. While the overall numbers seems to go up, and numbers will always be big in India. The important thing I would want you to look at this is the low fertility rate. I think as Indians, we've been brought up with viruses and bacteria. And so to a lot, we have to be careful, but at the end of the day, it's a flu. And I think more and more Indians are beginning to understand how to live with it. And you will see a recovery coming in. And so we are seeing some very major key trends. We are seeing that health is becoming a very major key factor. We are seeing tremendous rise. Initially, it was very difficult to sell, but suddenly in the last 2-3 months, we are seeing tremendous increase in demand for healthy and nutritious food. And more importantly, people willing to pay $1 extra for something that they consider healthy and nutritious. We've seen tremendous change in retail. The organization that I used to work with has merged with another major retailer. So massive consolidation happening. There is also major changes happening on the online side. Interestingly also, there has been a major change in the small retailer making their presence felt. So India is all encompassing. We are seeing changes in how people buy. We've been seeing tremendous changes in policy, even during the COVID environment. The Farm Bill that was referred to, these are landmark policy changes that has happened. And there are many theories that are always galore in India. The fact is that it's a country on the move. And while there might be very disturbing images that goes out from this part of the world, I think we saw some major winners come out of it. I think the vendors won. I think in this whole scenario, the vendors won. The shopkeepers won. The small or big, they won. The delivery staff, I don't think they have been rewarded to the extent they should be. But the guy on the bike delivering product, even during containment and 100% lockdown, was no less than any other COVID warrior. I think the authorities won. Given how cluttered our societies are and how difficult it is to manage, I think new businesses won, Indian entrepreneurship won. And finally, I think the consumers won. I mean, we are second world, third world, you can call it whatever we like, whatever fits. But you wouldn't have seen stores being looted in India or a massive rush in some kind of a chaos that is happening at retail. So there was a lot of systems that fell in place. And we are beginning to see the first change. I was shocked. This is a picture taken by me. This was the Mumbai wholesale market in my past. And this past is not too back. And this is now. So very structural changes we are already beginning to see. Indian economy, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Again, I'm saying is that I think this small downturn that we are seeing, we would like to believe is that it's a blip. India took 60 years for its first trillion. It took 5 years for its second trillion. So the economy is destined to grow, and it might be a little up or a little down, but in general, the feeling is that India is going to come out stronger of this. And the recovery, it's a prediction from many economists. It can be V, it can be W, but the fact is we are destined as a country to come out of this. So the basic projections about India remain in place, that it is among the fastest growing destinations for retail. Average household incomes are destined to increase, and which will have tremendous impact on all kinds of food, including imported fruit, and more importantly, US and India, which go back. I mean, if you look at this slide, I'm saying from 55 million households to 95 million households. That's like 80 million people moving into a consumption bracket. That's like a Germany getting added to the India's consumption bracket. And then as any developing economy, most of this expense is on food and grocery. And more importantly on India, I would say that India is not about the few metro that you hear about. This is a report that came out which said that there are 33 Indian cities with 1 million millionaires. So the quicker we take our products, the deeper we can take it, the better the results would be. And most interestingly is that, you know, India is what it is. There are no artificial corridors. So you can be in the poshest location in Delhi and Mumbai and poverty will stare in your face. But you can also be in a small town and there will be equal amount of rich people. I'll come to the mindsets and things that we as a country need to ponder. Imports. I think when we look at imports, India needs to look at imports from a complementary and a supplementary point of view. What Mr. Chandrashekhar was talking about, supplementary, that we just as a country to feed 1.35 billion people 3 meals a day, there needs to be food that needs to be brought in. And then there is complementary food, which is about taste and choice and better health, nutrition, etc. Cases after cases show the benefits of imports. I work on Washington apples, and if you talk to Indian apple growers, they all feel that if Washington or imported apples are out of the market today, Indian apple prices can fall down by as much as 60–70%. And I think an open economy will also lead to better make in India. The big boys in the game already have woken up to it. I'm taking brand names, but the Nestle's and the Cokes and the Pepsis of the world have woken up to this game many years, and it's about small and medium enterprises. When they get an opportunity, I think that will benefit. Self-sufficiency, I mean, self-sufficiency is a very often misunderstood word. One, we have global obligations as a signatory of WTO. Second, it's not a one-way street. we can't be proud of our export and be restrictive of our imports. And I think very importantly, I wanted to say was apart from all that, we need open minds and open hearts. We can't be wishing foreign investment to come in, but foreign companies not to succeed. It just doesn't work like that. And then the issue of processing. I mean, there is a tremendous need for new technology, new innovations to come in processing. And then that leads to is the clear case of partnerships, that has to go beyond trading into partnerships. And like has been said, India and US need to realign. This retaliatory issue has gone on far too long and it's beginning to hurt. And we all hope that this is a minor blip, and the kind of partnerships that we have, these will wither away very quickly. My last two slides. For Indian importers, US, I mean, not just because I promote it, but as an Indian, I can say that US does not have any discriminated quality. There is no domestic quality versus export quality. What product is available to an American consumer in Seattle is the exact same Washington apple available to an Indian consumer in Mumbai. And in general, US standards are higher than most standards that we see. And it's a country that is destined and positioned to support both the complementary and supplementary demand that India has. US is, and I'm saying this as a retailer in my past life, I worked with all countries. No country has a long-term plan for promotions like US does, both at a category level where you have events like Taste of America, but also at a individual level where I'm promoting California pistachio, somebody is promoting California walnut, somebody is working on California almonds. So it's you have direct point of contacts in each of them. It's an extremely conscious business. Even today, there is reports of how some of the lower quality, lower price apples are hampering sale of Himachal apples. You will never hear this about Washington, because we are very conscious when we do the business. The support that US provides from the government agency on the food side, be it phytosanitary or be it economic, be it every city has a US consulate and people who are willing to work, along with, of course, the Foreign Agriculture Service and dedicated senior officers who are working day and night on this. And finally, the India Connect. I was amazed when if you go to California and meet with almond growers and pistachio growers and walnut growers and many other shippers in lentils and other products, so many of them are Indians or people of Indian origin. If we open our hearts and minds, the amount of value that they can bring back to their country of origin, it's just tremendous, the human-to-human contact that exists. And for the US suppliers, I would say 2-3 points very quickly is that troubles will not go away in India, but the growth will continue. So I meet a lot of people who seem to look at what India does not have. People who succeed here are people who look at what India has and then work their way through the market. Finally, I wanted to leave you with this thought, and this is something that I learned from the owner of Future Group, who I had a chance to work with for 4-5 years. He used to always say, don't worry on the macro that you cannot control. Just work on creating consumer demand. And if there is a buyer at the end of the rope willing to buy your product, trade is like water, it will find its way. And so I'll leave you with this thought that there's life beyond Google. Come and smell the chai for yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was a very good presentation. And if any of you have any questions, please go into the Q&A box and you can ask questions to any of the speakers, because I'm going to request our Mumbai Chapter President to propose a vote of thanks. Maybe before that, if you have any questions, please go ahead. Chandrashekhar, there was a question for you about BT cotton.
Let me check what the question is. Yeah.
Yeah.
India has concerns of GM-based soybean. Referring to Rangaraj?
Yeah. This
Okay.
is from,
No, that's precisely what I said in my presentation. There are concerns in India. These concerns are misplaced. We have an overriding obligation to deliver nutrition to our population, which is about 1.3 billion people. We are seriously malnourished and undernourished, and therefore we need to deliver more protein. Our domestic sources are not able to produce or generate enough protein, although we are the world's largest milk producers, world's 4th largest egg producers. Our poultry production is going up. Notwithstanding all that, but they're all animal protein. We need more of vegetable protein for a predominantly vegetarian population. What can deliver that? Pulses and soybean are two principal legumes with protein for 1 billion Indians. And that's why we need to be either producing more soybean, or we should replace our soybean oil import or vegetable oil import at least partially with soybean import, which will allow us, which will give us more protein, which will help us fight our nutrition insecurity, which will help us advance our nutrition security and deliver more protein to both people and the roadblock. We need to engage with the policymakers, convince them that it is in India's interest to support import of high protein product like soybean. And this is not additional import that we are asking. We're talking about replacement. Replace a part of the vegetable oil import with soybean is the question. Therefore, there's no additional foreign exchange expenditure. On the other hand, there are a lot of benefits to be had for this country in terms of etc. Yep.
Okay. There's a question from the audience which has come here. It says, if we have to get some guidance from USDA in Mumbai, whom should we contact?
Yeah, Mr. Lazaro can answer that. Yeah.
Yes, I in the comment or in the chat box, I went ahead and put the email addresses for our offices in Mumbai and New Delhi. So if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and insert it one more time. If you have any questions, feel free to direct an email to both of those email addresses. And Mark or myself and our offices in Delhi or here in Mumbai will be more than happy to assist you.
Oh, that's AG Mumbai.
Yes, AG Mumbai at FAS.USDA and AG New Delhi at FAS.USDA.gov.
Great.
Yes.
There's another question for Chandrashekhar which has come, which says, is there scope for import of milk products? Will it not affect the rural demand in India from the rural sector?
As I said, India is the world's largest producer of milk. Milk production has been going up. There is a suspicion that milk production and milk export in some of the major exporting countries, including New Zealand, Australia, Europe, and the US, is highly subsidized. And if we are going to import subsidized milk products, it's surely going to hurt India. And that's why India did not participate in that a meeting which was called last year to open India's dairy product import. It is a very sensitive matter, but I am personally convinced going forward, the next, say, a 5 to 10 year time frame, our demand will go up so much that our production will start lagging demand, and we may be in a situation where we may be forced to start importing milk and milk products. I'm able to foresee a situation.
Okay.
But not in the immediate future.
Good. If there are no questions, can I request Mr. Srinivasan to propose the vote of thanks, please?
It was a wonderful webinar, no doubt about it. And on behalf of our chairman, Mr. R.K. Pillai, and all of us here at USIIC, thanks a lot. Thank you all for the nice participation. Our special thanks to Honorable Consul General, Mr. David J. Ranz, for having inaugurated and given the keynote address. In spite of his heavy engagements and schedule, he was very kind enough to come and participate. And my special thanks to Mr. Mark Rosmann, Agricultural Attache, U.S. Embassy, New Delhi, for having participated and given some beautiful insights into this. And my special thanks, I just can't thank you enough, Lazaro, for guiding me on a day-to-day basis for having put together this webinar. But for you, this would have been very, very difficult to put together, and thank you very much. And now coming to Mr. Chandrashekhar. So, but for this webinar wouldn't have started at all. You are the one who really spoke about it and started it all, and I should thank Dr. Rangaraj for introducing that to me, and but for that, it wouldn't have come through. Thank you very much. And my special thanks to Jay for not only participated from Virginia, but also having sponsored this, Mr. Jay of SS Lynks, Virginia. Special thanks to you, sir. Thanks you. Thanks a lot. And Mr. Sumit Saran, it was wonderful to know your past experiences and the present endeavor you are making. And it was absolutely a beautiful presentation you did, like others. And now I take this opportunity to introduce our USIIC chapter president, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Acharya, who is going to operate this USIIC chapter from Arlington. And now, because of COVID, now he's trapped in India now. And once he goes back, he will also be a good contact for all the business activities of USIIC. Thank you, Dr. Acharya, for having given us a wonderful digital platform and having brought about this webinar in a beautiful way. My special thanks to Dr. Rangaraj and Robin for having worked with me so closely. And thank you very much. It was a wonderful evening. And in spite of the rain, all of us were able to pull through. There were, and all the participants, thank you very much. And sorry for the small hiccups you had due to some connection problems, something. Overall, I think we were able to give you a nice presentation. Thank you very much. And please remember to contact us at USIIC, and Robin has already shared the contact addresses, as well as with WUSDA with Mr. Lazaro and Mr. Mark. And thank you, CG sir. Thank you very, very much for having come and given us a beautiful speech today. Thank you very much. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Good night.
All right, good night.